Halstead Telephone Company and R&J Broadcasting Incorporated is proud to present to you this broadcast on YourLiveEvent.com.
Hello and welcome in to the season finale of the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show, of course, powered by Enbridge. I'm your host, Mac Robinson. Always appreciate the conversations, and we're happy to bring this one to a close here this season, of course, for the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show. Coming up a little bit later, going to be having conversation with Jeremy Culleton, the mentor for Team F.R.E.D 2883, and of course, going to have our conversation with the Iron Mosquitos. That's still on the way, but up first, I got a chance to sit down with the Team F.R.E.D. Here's my conversation with the folks over at Team F.R.E.D 2883.
And welcome back into the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show. I'm your host, Mac Robinson, and joining us now, we have Team F.R.E.D, of course, joining us. Had a chance to go down to the state meet, of course, and participate there in states. And, joining me now, we have Rosalind and also Kaylee. And, for both of you guys, what was the experience like? Obviously, you guys got a chance to go to Worlds and then coming back and get a chance to, participate, go ahead and show off your robot there at states there as well.
Yeah, so it was really stressful. A lot of things weren't going our way actually at states. So we had to do a lot of problem solving. And one of our matches, we were like an actual pit crew on like race cars. It seemed like we were on the field working on the robot right before we had to go out and play. And so it was really fun. We didn't get selected for alliances though, which is pretty sad. But you have anything to add to that?
I think for the drive team, it was kind of just relaxing to not be in the world setting because Worlds is a lot more stressful than state. But once we started getting down to the wire on matches, we were like hunkering down on if we were going to win or not.
Well, and with that being said, too, the fact that, like you said, Worlds is a massive stage, and obviously, a ton of great robots in the area, especially here in Minnesota. But obviously, the scale is a little bit taken down a little bit there. So for both of you, what was it like to have that experience of Worlds and be able to take that experience that you guys had, have a couple of weeks to almost recuperate a little bit with your robot there, and then be able to, take that experience that you guys had and really implement that, especially, on the state level?
I think for me, I was a better strategist and I could communicate better with people. And I understood where some people were coming from, like if they really wanted to do their auto or something, because we were let down a lot for our autos, but I don't know.
And then so we broke a lot at Worlds, so it was easier for me to now communicate with the drivers and team to know what we need to fix and what we actually need to work on taking it into state and stuff. So.
And the other side of it too is that obviously now you've gone through Worlds, you've gone through state now at this point. Is it almost a little bit of a relief for you guys? Or I know kind of bittersweet maybe a little bit here as you're at the end of the season, but you finally have a chance to breathe a little bit without having to travel every couple of weeks?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of more free time.
Well, and the other side of it too is that, obviously you guys got a chance to travel down. What did you guys get a chance to do? I know you guys focus in when it comes to strategy and everything like that. What did you guys do outside of robotics down there in Minneapolis and St. Paul?
We did nothing.
Well, I mean, the travel and everything like that, what did you guys do to pass the time to get down there?
Sleep.
Yeah.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. You guys went down to Houston. You guys did a ton of traveling as it was, so I get it. But the other side of it too is that now we're at the end of the season here, especially. And I know we've talked about it a few times. I know it's super cliche, but now that you've seen the whole process from seeing the game, I know we've talked about it multiple times too. But seeing the game from in January to now having the whole experience, throughout this entire year, especially, what were some of your big takeaways from this year? And especially too, whether it be actually, at the events, now that you guys have, gone through all of that, or, even stuff behind the scenes, what were some of your favorite experiences and moments that you guys had from this entire season?
No,
I know, loaded question. I guess.
I'd say just being able to take it all in and like get to actually go to all 4 competitions this year was really cool. I'd seen the other teams' robots and stuff, and being able to improvise on our robot, like bringing it back each competition and seeing what we should change and everything was really cool, because seeing the different perspectives from other robots and other teams is nice.
I also like the other teams. Like I connected with a lot of teams this year. And I also connected more with my own team, and it felt like more of a family than it has in any other years. And I don't know, I had a lot of tears shed at our last competition because it was my last one.
Well, I'm glad that we've gotten a chance to talk then at that point. And Kaylee, for you then at this point, with that being your last one, what are some of your favorite, moments, not just from this year, but, your time as well, throughout the years of participating in robotics? I know, a loaded question again. I'm sorry.
My favorite moments are like getting to compete in playoff matches. Those are always so stressful, but I like them so much. And probably Rosalind yelling at me every time I got really anxious over the competitions. Yeah.
Well, and then, another question here for you guys too is that, obviously we talk about how, robots and how teams can improve too, but, for each of you individually, and Rosalind, I'll start with you, for each of you individually, where do you think you guys have grown the most because of robotics?
I think I've grown the most in my communication skills. Like I used to not want to talk to people before I joined robotics, and now I'm like really comfortable just like doing interviews like this.
Kaylee, what about you?
I think I've grown in my ability to like think on my feet and also have imagination, not just stealing other people's ideas.
I saw the eye roll there, Rosalind. That the extreme eye roll over there. But okay, and you know what? I just want to say you guys did fantastic this season. I love getting a chance to see how you guys progress, especially, and see you guys perform in those competitions as well. So it's been fantastic. Rosalind, Kaylee, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all the interviews and dealing with my questions that I'm throwing at you guys. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Restock on food, fuel, and baits at locally owned Station 371 on Highway 371 in Pine River. Station 371 has bait and tackle, quality Cenex gasoline, off-road diesel, and is the only stop with #1 diesel. Make sure to stop by to wash off the sand and salt with their indoor car wash, open when the temp is at least 26 degrees. They'll hook you up with your fishing and hunting licenses too. Station 371 on Highway 371 in Pine River. Thank you for supporting local business.
Let's get real. Get ready for a place that's big enough to grow and small enough to care. The University of Minnesota Crookston offers more than 35 majors, minors, and certificates. Earn a University of Minnesota degree, where you can make a difference in a close-knit community. Faculty become friends, and friends feel like family. You don't need a big city, just big dreams. The University of Minnesota Crookston. Real, hands-on, and will get you ready for anything.
Always appreciate the conversation there with Rosalind and Kaylee. Again, great job, girls, on the season. Congratulations on a great season for the rest of Team F.R.E.D, of course, 2883. And now I'm going to pass things over to Jack here on the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show powered by Enbridge. Jack got a chance to sit down with the Iron Mosquitos. Jack, take it away.
Welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show. I am here with Iron Mosquitos, team 5653, with Ryan, Eva, and Thule. So happy I got Thule right. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. So, all right, already off to a cracking start. You guys are actually fresh off of states, but before we get into that, how's everybody doing?
Good, really good. I'm tired. I'm ready for a break.
I'm getting better with every nap. Had a 4-hour on Sundays.
I took a 3-hour nap yesterday, so feeling good.
I'm not gonna lie, I just bought a new recliner, so like napping has been really important in my life. So I completely understand a good nap. So I'm glad you guys are getting all napped up, especially you, Ryan. I feel like you nap like every single time. That's like one of the first things you tell me. You're like, oh man, I just need to nap, man.
I'm getting old. It must be a thing.
But with that being said, like I said before, you guys are fresh off of states. Well, first, before we get into that, I do want to say congratulations to Ryan for getting Section 7 Coach of the Year. That's awesome, fantastic. So claps for that, absolutely. But before we get into too much of that, how was states for you guys?
It was good. It was improvement from last year. We had a lot of fun. It was a good competition. We figure out where we are like state-wise was really interesting.
Okay. All right. No, perfect. Now improvement from last year. So even to seniors, sophomores, freshmen.
I'm a freshman this year, so this is my second year on the team. I'm an 8th grader, so I'm a rookie on the team.
You're a rook. Okay. Awesome. So you guys have a few more years to keep on coming back and everything else like that. Okay, fantastic. Bring up last year to this year, you said improvement. What do you think was kind of a big thing of that improvement? Was it more like, just this game was more towards what we were looking to do, or was it something else?
It was definitely not it was our robot just not, completely destroying itself. And we felt like we had more time in between matches to just sit for a while. It wasn't as stressful as last year.
Last year we broke our elevator. The end game was a climb, and the climber broke mid-tournament. And since you have 36 teams, there isn't a lot of time in between matches to fix things. So we lost some match, and it just kind of snowballed on us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. And a robot is definitely better this year, like Tully was saying. It's a little more. We broke it enough times in all the competitions before then that we made it industrial-ish, so it can last. So we weren't terrified of things snapping or rubber bands breaking and having to fix them every match, stuff like that.
Okay, no, that's awesome. Now, we'll get back to the states in a second, but so season's basically kind of over. At least like game season's kind of over for you guys. Is there anything left to do for you guys, or is it just completely off season and we'll just see you guys next year?
We're hosting an off season event this year.
Oh, fantastic.
In October, so we get to do that, which is exciting.
So you guys were down at that one in Alexandria, right?
Yes, yeah, we were at Alexandria.
Yeah, so it'll be the same type of thing, but it'll be in Babbitt this year. So
yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
We got a programming camp. A couple of, not these two, but a couple of other kids are going to go to in June, and then there's some summer stuff. We're trying to get a t-shirt cannon done. We'll see if we can fit that in between naps, stuff like that.
A t-shirt, like a t-shirt cannon from like a halftime,
but a robot with like a 6-shooter. So,
yeah. Like
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So why you guys built it? Oh, go ahead.
We do it for our parades every year.
Oh, okay.
So we go to our local parades and we shoot them, give them some t-shirts. Basically, it's just the goal.
Okay. So so is this something like you guys have built this already and it's just we need to update it, or is it like
we had one and then we turned it into our grocery bot in 2020.
Okay.
And so we don't have that anymore. So we're actually in the works of making a new one with a new drivetrain and a new everything. So
we've got parts, we got scuba tanks, we've got CAD, we even have an awooga horn, wooga to when we shoot, it's going to be on there, but it's just got to find some time in between events to get that done. So.
You guys are crazy. I love it. It's so awesome. I learn something new every single time I talk to you guys. Now you guys are doing a t-shirt cannon. So now with the parades and everything else, I mean, obviously that's part of that like outreach portion of, you know, what makes robotics, at least in my eyes, like so special. Like it really is, you know, like you do a little bit of everything. Um, when it comes to outreach programs, you mentioned the parade. Any other outreach stuff that your guys are thinking about doing?
So we did some camps in the winter with a couple boys and girls clubs.
Oh.
So we're some of the adults in the background are working on expanding those camps. So it would be kind of a multi-day thing where trying to integrate maybe some cultural learning too, and get like involve some elders and different things. And that's preliminary. So, but we'd like to increase our elementary outreach is the big thing, like that age group, because that's our pipeline. And you know, if you can get kids into things when they're little and they can see themselves succeeding in the future in that, like they have the time to develop and learn what they need to. You know, sometimes by the time they're in 10th grade, they already decided who they are and what they're going to be.
Right. I'll say this. I would bring the t-shirt cannon and just be like, yeah, it's a thing that fires stuff. There's no kid that's not going to be like, that's the coolest thing in the world. But going back to states, you did mention like, hey, it was a little bit less, I don't want to say frustrating, but less hectic. There wasn't a whole bunch of stuff that you guys were fixing and everything else like that. But with the states, besides the event that you guys are going to be holding, I mean, how was the pit area? How was that atmosphere? Kind of possibly being some of your teammates like last time doing this.
So we only have one senior on the team.
Oh.
So and he's one of our drivers. So it was an experience of him walking off the field for the last time, and that was like I got a text message and was like, get him water. So like I went and I ran to make sure that he had water. I got him an ice pack. Like I was ready. So like we were ready for anything, but it's scary. Because especially as years continue to go on, like we're gonna lose more and more people. So it's kind of hard to think about losing people like that. But knowing that he has a future in engineering is important, and knowing that he's going on doing that kind of stuff is awesome.
Right. Did Ryan kind of same thing to you? How was it for you being a coach, seeing that?
We had a good tournament. So like you leave with a good taste in your mouth. Like I think we left a little on the table as far as our performance, but like we were in the playoffs, and it was just feels good to be out there and competing and feeling, the kids felt good about what they did. So it's like you're a senior, you're probably ready to move on to the next thing. And the kids usually come back if they're on Christmas break, the first couple weeks of the season, they're not back to school yet. So they'll come and help out the new kids and then realize they're really glad they don't have to stay till midnight every night, things like that. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's really hit me yet. Like I'm spending more time with these kids than my own family right now. So it's just, I'll probably reflect on it midsummer or something.
No,
we're still just going. Like we got thank you cards and we got grants to write and we got stuff to do, and I'm doing all the paperwork and all the receipts and things. So it's just yeah, you have to ask me in a week after a couple more naps.
No, absolutely no. Right, you getting coach of the year for Section 7. What was that a surprise for you, or were you like, yeah, I got this in the bag?
No, it's like, so there's just the coaches that vote on it. I'm actually a section rep, so I had to count up the votes and things. So,
So you were counting the votes.
yeah. And there was a 3-way tie. So we had to flip some coins, and we're all saying like, no, you take it. So, yeah, but there was the group of us. I think I was co-coach, or there was assistant coach. I don't know, Justin Scheider from, like Sub-Zero. He was also kind of as a part of our section. So it feels good. It feels nice to be recognized, but you've worked with all these coaches, like every single coach that does this deserves an award, because it's really, if you get lucky and your kids do some nice things, well, then you maybe get some extra recognition, but everybody is doing solid work. Like it's just a great community to be a part of.
No, and no, 100%. Every single every single team is fantastic. Now for the votes and getting those tallies, I mean, is that, how are those votes like compiled, or is that like, hey, we're asking the students who?
No, so it's usually we send out to all the coaches in the section, and then the coaches kind of respond, and who they know and who's taking them out for steak after a competition or something. Who knows what goes into it. So probably depends a little bit on how, like, we won the impact award, so I think that that was kind of the big one for our section, and that kind of ended up being the deciding factor. So all the credit goes to the kids.
Oh no, absolutely. And actually mentioning the impact award, because we Ryan and I have talked about the impact award before, but haven't been able to ask the players about it, the students. Winning that impact award, how does that make you guys feel?
Feels really good, because it's the most prestigious award, and this was my first year, and that I know that we've been working on the essay for like previous years.
Your older sister, actually.
Yeah. She was working on it before, but this is the year we finally finished it. I actually read it a little bit. I read the essay questions and stuff like that, but it felt really good to win.
A lot of it is every year we go and we write down our goals on the board, and one of our goals is always go to Worlds, going to Worlds. That's what we want to do as a small school, as a small team, and showing people that it doesn't really matter that we're a small team, that we do still have that same potential and we still have that same amount of outreach. So winning that it showed our community that we were capable of things, and I definitely gave us a little bit more recognition just in our school, which was a really big deal for us, and we're definitely going to have a significant increase in the people in our team just because of that. So which is a big deal for us.
That is awesome. Now, and again, I'm just kind of realizing, like, oh my goodness, I haven't asked, like, Ryan has been very nice and allowing, talking with me for like the last, I want to say 4 weeks. So we've been kind of going back and forth with everything. But you mentioned Worlds. How, for you guys, how was Worlds? How was that entire experience for you guys?
It was incredible. It was it was like nothing else. Like, there is not a competition that compares to that. And like watching Einsteins and like competing against the other teams that are also the best in the world, like, it was incredible. And there's one point where if you walk from one side of the pits to the others, you'll hear all like 8 MCs announcing different parts of the game, and they fade in and fade out as you're walking across. And it's a really cool experience.
Right. And you could look down the line of all the fields and you could see all the people in the stands and all the different matches going on at the same time. It was crazy.
This was something that kind of shocked me with you brought up the fans going to, even, smaller events, but especially like World. And I've been saying this the entire year because I was introduced to robotics a year ago via Alexandria, but like seeing the fans and everything else, does that like shock you with how kind of big or how loyal and loyal, that'd be the right word, how the fan base is?
I think it's crazy to think how big robotics is now. Like once before going to Worlds, like you're like, yeah, robotics is kind of a big deal. Like there are teams that are around the world, like that they exist. It's just like it doesn't really, you can't visualize it until you go and you're like, there are teams all over the world doing the same thing and doing the same activity as us and enjoying it as much as us. And like even just knowing that there's teams all over the state and all over the country really is just kind of a big deal. There's 500 teams that just go to Worlds, so it's a really cool to visualize the amount of teams that are actually and people that put their time into this.
Going to your first event, like performing and the crowd and everything else, is there ever, or even the first time, going to Worlds and stuff like that, was there ever a time where it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of eyes on us, or was it always just, hey, just do what you guys have been doing the entire time?
I think Lindsay tells us a lot, like it's just we're here, but like let's just have some fun kind of thing. And I think that was a lot of her focus, especially as Worlds, was like, let's just like experience it and have this experience under our belt, like say like we had fun at this. And that's a lot of what went into Worlds, but like we want to win a regional. That would be kind of cool. So like we go to our regionals going in to win kind of thing, but going into Worlds, it was more of just like, let's have fun. Like this is an experience that we might not ever get to experience again kind of thing.
Right. Going back to state's a little unique because if I'm not mistaken, it really is, you have the warm-up day and then it's really just one day of competition. I mean, how much, what is the difference for you guys when it does go from, hey, we have a 2-day event versus, oh no, we got a 1-day event?
It definitely brings up the stress a lot. It's a little like there are less time in between matches, but like when your robot works, it's better. So like this year between last year's difference, but like it's like, yeah, we're just gonna go for Saturday and we're gonna compete and then we're gonna be done. And so like it's kind of nice to like have a full weekend, but also missing that day kind of slows stuff down. Not having just those breaks in between matches is really the biggest difference, which is a big deal just for stress levels, most of it.
You mentioned at the start of the season, you always kind of put up, your goals and everything else like that. Obviously, Worlds, you were able to achieve that. What other goals were you actually able to achieve, or was it, hey, we achieved every single goal we were looking to do?
So, going to Worlds, winning the Impact Award was a really big one. Like that was like we knew that at the beginning of this season that we wanted to win the Impact Award. Like that was a really big goal for us. So that was another goal that we made.
One was being the ideal second pick.
Yeah.
Which
so
we got that a lot.
Yeah. So we got the pick, which is what we wanted. One of the goals, which is kind of a joke, is just having a working robot at state. So like that was so we did do that. Which was kind of it was a big deal for like our build captain because he had a hard time at state last year. So getting to experience state this year and not having to stress as much.
We melted down last year. It was a disaster.
It was bad.
But it sounds like just like you guys said, like you brought all that experience, and this year is now this year. And it seems like state was really kind of a breeze for you guys.
Yeah. It was like, it would have been nice to like, have a break week, but going to state is pretty cool too, I guess.
It's fun too, like we're going to a couple events now, and we did in the past, but we're starting to develop relationships, these kids are, with different teams and different people. And it makes a difference when you're around people that you've had good experiences with and you can say hi, and like you're among friends, if that makes sense. I think last year is after COVID and all the stuffs, and like, you just trying to figure out where you are, but it's like, it's really just going to community that you're comfortable with. And it just felt better this year.
And that's funny. It's actually that's kind of mirroring a lot of other where it's just like, yeah, it feels like this was kind of the first year, back from, the COVID pandemic and everything like that. Now, you brought up, connections that, students made and everything else like that, especially when it comes to worlds. Um, any interesting, teams that you guys kind of really gelled with that, hey, you guys would have never met if you didn't go to Worlds?
On our we were walking to the Natural History Museum and we walked by another team and we asked them what was their number and it was 5654. And we were like, oh my goodness, we're 5653. And then they're from Israel, right? They're from Israel. So we went and visited their pit and they handed out bracelets. So we got bracelets.
Oh.
You have the turkey.
And I also have a turkey one.
And then we recruited Rain, like we had the kids do the video.
Yeah.
That's that.
I don't know if I said it last week. We had
Right.
There's a team from Turkey, and we have a girl that grew up in Turkey in our school. We want to join the team next year. So we had the girls from that team do a message like, hey, hope we see you next year in her language. And we played it here at school. It was a lot of fun. Like that's just stuff that doesn't happen in northern Minnesota. So it was really neat.
Right. No, I did. And that is awesome. Yeah, no, and you did tell that story. But yeah, no, that is so awesome. Now, kind of going back to the at the start of the season, the goals, things of that nature. Was there anything on the board that maybe you weren't able to achieve, or hey, we got really close to this and we're okay with it?
At the Central Illinois Regional, we got really close to making it to the finals. And I make a joke now that we have a semifinals curse because we said we had a quarterfinals curse before. So now we have a semifinals curse, and we lose our semifinals match and we don't make it to finals. So winning a regional is one of the things on the board. It would be really cool to win a regional. So and we almost made it at that Central Illinois Regional. So that was a little bit disappointing, but the Central Illinois Regional was also really fun because it was small. So it was 36 teams. So it was almost like state, but during season and not teams that you normally compete against. So we met a lot of newer teams that we don't actually know.
That was supposed to be the hardest regional in the world this year. I think one of the world champions was there, several other.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty stacked.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, like you guys said, it doesn't seem like you guys have an off season, but any besides the outreach and anything like that, I mean, is there going to be any type of postseason get together, hangout, or just kind of something like that? And we got a lot of shaking the yes and everything else like that. So what do you guys got planned?
My family, my dad built a wood fire pizza oven, so we're holding a wood fire pizza party. That's what we're doing in my backyard.
You can invite the whole conference here.
I recommend it. Wood fire pizza is best pizza
really
you'll ever.
good.
It's best pizza you'll ever have. Highly recommended. And as much as pizza as we eat over the season, this is the best pizza you eat.
It's good pizza.
We need to fire that up over during season. That's a good idea.
So then you don't have to think
Gas station pizza for weeks.
Hey, you know what? Whatever works in a pinch, for sure. I completely understand that. Now, kind of, working our way down, even Tony than Ryan, but for this season, what is probably one of the biggest? What's going to be a memory that you're going to be able to kind of carry with you throughout from this season?
Well, this is for me.
Yeah. Oh no, this is for everybody.
I think just the world's experience and just everyone, like that last day when, you know, we got eliminated in the playoffs in our division, but then you're watching these, you know, the top, was it 24 teams in the world compete, and they have music going and everyone's up in the stands together singing and shining their phones up in the air, and like you just tell everyone felt really good about themselves, and that's really what it's all about. It's just going out there, showing that you belong. You can do anything anyone can do, or you can do anything that anyone, like you're totally capable to compete with the best in the world, and just like being united and all having joy together and something they put a lot of time in. I think that's the memory.
Oh, that's fantastic. Julie?
Corner Worlds, like the Einstein matches were like, that's probably my favorite memory. That was really cool. The same thing that he said is just those Einstein matches.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. It was just the whole trip was just crazy. It was so.
And before I let you guys go, I do have one kind of final question for you guys, which, well, maybe one of the last final questions I have. Talking with you guys before, and Ryan, and you guys were actually kind of featured on a Disney Plus program. How was that for you guys?
So my brother did the interview for that.
Okay.
At the time, I remember him like going to my mom's office and doing the interview, which was really cool. But like that was our like 5 minutes of fame kind of thing. Like it was it was like, that's the most we're ever gonna do. Like that's so cool. And then like we did all this other stuff this year, and we're like, whoa, like there's so much more than just our 5 minutes on this Disney Plus documentary. But like getting that was really cool. It was definitely a start for winning and getting to where we are right now.
Absolutely. Well,
there's been a saying in Babbitt historically. It's like, oh, like it's just Babbitt. What do you expect? Like a lot of low expectations. And like I see these young kids coming up, and like they expect to win at a state and national level, and that's exciting to me.
That's awesome. And like you joked about it before with the semifinal, and now curse and everything else like that. You know what? It seems like you keep on pushing that curse up. I mean, maybe you'll have a championship curse here next year. So that'd be fantastic. Yeah, knock on whatever wood you want to knock on. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fantastic. Not only your time today, but thank you for all the time you had this season for us. This has been awesome. I loved being able to kind of follow everybody's, all the teams, journey. This has been an awesome one to follow for sure. So seriously, thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing a little bit more with the watchers, and honestly, selfishly with me. I've had a lot of fun doing all this. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and we appreciate it. It's been fun to do this.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you guys go get caught up on some naps. For everybody else, stay tuned.
This year, Schrupp Excavating is celebrating 40 years of digging it right. With this milestone year, Schrupp Excavating wants to thank all of their past, current, and future employees and customers. They appreciate all you've done to help Schrupp Excavating become one of the most trusted companies in the Lakes area. For any excavation project, Schrupp Excavating will have your project done right and on time, serving Pine River, Bacchus, Pequot Lakes, and all the surrounding communities. Schrupp Excavating LLC, online at schruppexcavating.com. The PRB Boosters are happy to sponsor coverage of the Tigers. Like them on Facebook for events and fundraisers. The PRB Boosters could use your help. Be part of great events and fundraisers, all built to give back and present more opportunities for the students of Pine River Bacchus schools. For information or to get started, Email prbboosterclub1.com. Meetings are the first Monday of every month at 6 p.m. at the school. Good luck, Tigers, from the PRB Boosters.
Of course, always appreciate the conversation there with the Iron Mosquitos. Jack, thank you very much. Now, I got a chance to sit down with Jeremy Culleton, the mentor for the F.R.E.D team, F.R.E.D 2883. Here's my conversation with Jeremy right here on the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show, powered by Enbridge.
Mac Robinson here, back once again with Team F.R.E.D 2883. And of course, joining me now, we have Jeremy Culleton. And Jeremy, thank you again for joining me. And, I got a chance to talk with the girls and, talked with them about how, they got a chance to go to Houston, now get a week break, and then they come back at it once again at State. And for you, how do you think that from your point of view, how do you think that Worlds really helped them, especially at that Minnesota State level?
I think that they were really calm. Like I found even we had some things go wrong that never went wrong all year. First match out, the chain breaks, the tensioner breaks, and we hadn't had an issue all year with the tensioner. And of course, chaos theory says that you're going to have an issue. So you have an issue and they bounce back, kind of came in and were a little upset because they knew that was a match that they probably could have won. And so now you're behind the 8 ball a little bit. And, they just bounced back. And what ended up happening was the chain breaks, our arm is hanging down, and then we decided to play defense. So we're running into things. Then we get it back and we start working on the chain. And then one of the students notices that's in the pit. Oh man, this is broken. So something else is broken on the intake. So they're literally four hands or 8 hands in that robot, and they're fixing 2 different parts at one time. So for me, that was awesome just to see them, just kind of go through that. And they were super calm about it. So that was kind of exciting to watch. And then later on, we lose another match and, lose a couple in a row. And then they kind of bounce back again. And we had an issue with one of the motors and one of the rev boxes. And so they were actually changing that in queue. They started. And so they had a runner that was running back and forth to get parts and tools. And then they were in queue. And as they were rolling up to put the robot on, they're tightening the last bolts, which is, to me, like that was the best. So, I'm filming it and I'm just smiling because I that's where you want to be. So I think putting them in those situations and getting them to see them be successful in those situations as a mentor, that means the world to me. So,
I mean, having the full NASCAR pit crew effect at that point, I think the girls described it the same way. So, I mean, it's a fantastic display at that point.
Yeah, right. And it just shows you that they're immersed in the program. Like our kids are immersed in it. They understand what has to get done, and they understand their roles. They know how to divide up roles and to be team members and pull team members in where they need them. And I thought that was kind of neat to watch because it wasn't me doing that. It wasn't our other mentors that were in the pit. It was those students that were doing it. And so to have a good enough understanding of how their robot works and where they want it to be, I thought, that comes from just all of those competitions and being able to space things out.
And then, for you too, and I asked this to the girls as well, but, for you as a mentor, getting a chance to watch these girls, from seeing the game initially back in January to now we're in mid-May and, the season's wrapped up at this point here. So, for you, where do you think that, or what are some of the moments that you are going to kind of look back on and remember from this year, especially?
Yeah. So there's a couple, but there's one that the pit stuff, obviously, and at Worlds and being at Worlds and having small successes here and there. But it was early in the build season and we were looking at a grabbing claw or different intakes and stuff like that. And I kind of threw it back on them and on the students. And I said, you guys have to decide, how are you going to make up your mind on what you want to do? So they actually just pulled themselves to the side and on my walls, like we can write on my walls in my shop with markers and stuff. And so they were actually with markers and they were doing pros and cons for each one and trying to weigh it out. So real world, you have to come up with your product. And you have to live and die by it a little bit. So they did that and it just moved that process forward. Otherwise we were really torn between the two and didn't know which direction to go. And then that gave us some direction and got us going in the right places. So I think stuff like that, that stood out a lot to me. And then just the amount of commitment that they put in. I think that we always have a lot of commitment from all the teams, but in the past years, but this group, I think it was, because they're kind of the COVID kids, they kind of came out of COVID and they've had they dealt with COVID and then they had some real world stuff now. And and now it's kind of their test year. It was kind of this is the year that COVID wasn't holding us back. We built a robot last year, and so now where were we going to go? And so getting to see them do that, and then seeing how young we were, because we only graduated 4 seniors. So it's exciting to see what the future is going to hold and what our summer is going to look like a little bit.
Well, and with that being said, too, having so many, younger students that are going to be involved in that as well, how do you think that they kind of took that experience this year and really are going to be able to, take that in stride going forward there as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was overwhelming. Like if you've never been around robotics, it's pretty overwhelming. And then you get to the world stage and you start to see a whole nother level of robot and a whole nother level of team. So I think that was kind of good for them to see. And then, as we were heading back from Houston, you started to hear the little murmurs and stuff about what we want to do next year, And then on the way back from state, I want to do this. I want to do this summer. And then last week, even in this week, I ran into team members that I have in class and, can we do this summer? Can we do this? And I'm like, absolutely. We can do whatever you want. Just as long as you're committed, I'm good. So that was kind of fun just to see that, it's almost like dropping a pebble in the pond and the waves get bigger and they just keep expanding. So I think when you get to compete at the state level and see that level of play from teams in Minnesota, and then you go to the world level and see that level, I think that it kind of made them want to achieve more, which is great for us.
And, I asked the same question of the girls as well. And, obviously we talk about, people have like you can improve in certain areas, everything like that. But, for you as a mentor as well, as an individual, where do you think that you've kind of grown the most when it comes to being around this group of kids after this season, especially? And, for you, how do you kind of look back and take in this entire season?
I'm always amazed, and it never fails a year. I'm always amazed at the resilience of kids and how they can really overcome adversity at times, and not just on a robot or on a physical thing, but on a mental level as well. Because I've always said that FIRST is a microcosm of life, and I think that I get to see that every time that I do a season. And looking back at this group, it's no different. They overcame obstacles with the robot. They overcame obstacles with each other, and then ultimately just trying to stick to our ethos in here of being inclusive and trying to make sure that everybody has a voice. Sometimes that doesn't happen all the time, but we sure try to strive to do that. And so it's nice to see them do that.
All right, Jeremy, I want to say thank you from all of us here at the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show. You guys always make time. We always appreciate it. Thank you so much, and congratulations on a fantastic season, and especially for the rest of your career there as well.
Thank you so much. It's been great. It's great for us to get on. It's great to give the kids some airtime. So I appreciate everything that you do for robotics.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next season.
You bet.
Thank you very much to Jeremy Culleton, of course, mentor for Team F.R.E.D 2883. Of course, always appreciate the conversation, just like we did today with the Iron Mosquitos, as well as all the teams that we spoke to this past season. I know, speaking for Jack and myself here, I know that this season was fantastic. We truly appreciated not only bringing the world of robotics to you, but also having the world of robotics brought to us as well. We always appreciate the conversations, always had great laughs from start to finish, from build to completion. We loved it. Thank you all so much. And of course, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, of course, Enbridge as well, for always powering our coverage here on the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show. And we also want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in each and every week. We truly do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year. For Jack, I'm Mac Robinson. Thank you all very much for tuning in this season. We'll catch you next year.